Welcome to Heroes Rising, hosted by Sifu Rafael, a master instructor, public speaker, and the founder of Speaking Prowess. Known for his expert.
So that was a joke. It's not even April Fool's Day, right? So what winds up happening is that with so many shows, the wrong one popped in when it shouldn't have. And that's life, right?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So April Fool's early. See, we get you before you even think about it.
I was like, I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
So this should be the correct one. And if you know what, it's not letting me do it. So Tammy, say a few powerful words. You always do. And I'm going to reset everything up on my end. That means I have to log off and log back on. But everybody, welcome and say hi to Tammy.
Welcome, everyone. It's so good to be here with you. I was just telling Sifu that I had to get makeup on and get myself dressed and the things that we women do. And then as soon as this is over, I'm going to the esthetician and we are going to just clean every single bit of this off. And she's going to go, why do you have all this on? Well, because of being here. So believe me, if I didn't have on makeup, and this is not profound, but if I didn't have on makeup, I would look all white. So here we go. What is your day like? Today, we are going to be talking about the power of stillness. And when we do that, when we talk about the power of stillness, it makes me automatically want to be still. And Sifu, welcome back. I was talking about makeup.
I heard. I was being still in the background. So I love our intro. So is it okay if I share it now?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it.
In a world clouded by noise,
truth is waiting in the quiet.
It whispers.
Until someone dares to listen.
She is the Oracle, Tammy De Mirza, a world-renowned intuitive.
A messenger of what's hidden.
She sees what others cannot.
And speaks the truths you have been seeking. And he is the master, Sifu Rafael, a master instructor, strategist.
A guide who leads with discipline.
Turning wisdom
into action. Together,
we awaken what's been buried.
We ignite the hunger for truth.
And we challenge illusions.
Guiding you to your next level of power. Two powerful souls unite to awaken what's been buried.
To break what's been bound and to speak what others want. The Oracle
and the Master.
It's time.
It is time, isn't it?
Yes, thank you so much for being here. It's always such a pleasure to sit with you. I wish we had more time with each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can the world handle these two crazy people together?
You're all crazy too. They just don't know it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love what Steve Jobs said, and he talked about it's the crazy ones that change the world.
Yeah.
So here we are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad to be a part of that. Great.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs talked about.
I'll show you my crazy ID.
I have a question for you around stillness. There's something that I'm noticing, and I think it's a good lead into this. One of the things that I am seeing is that people are not really present. They're not listening. They're not paying attention. They're checked out. And just like and I love this lady. I absolutely love her. I'm not going to say her name. But she admitted to me yesterday that because on my breakthrough conversations and my JV conversations, it asked for her phone number in her mind. She decided that I was calling her, even though everything on Calendly said, you're going to go to Tammy's Zoom. So what I'm starting to see is that it's almost like everything is becoming muffled and things are indistinct and people are having a hard time hearing. I was also in a meeting yesterday with one of my coaches, and every single person in the coaching program was not listening.
Mm.
And she is talking to them, and I know what she's saying. I know what she's trying to explain. I know the wisdom she's giving them, but you can see these blank eyes. And I'm like, wow, what's happening? What's happening? And I think this subject today, and I just wondered, are you noticing this? That people are like getting one fragment of something and then they decide, oh, that's what it is. And they don't even look, they don't read their emails. They're not looking for the details. They're not looking for how I really attend a meeting or how I really do this thing. It's like they're checked out. There's not a stillness. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Think
Yeah.
about speed reading. The premise that I found in speed reading is that they only read the words that are going to pop. And what winds up happening, I believe, is they're missing the essence of the message. And so the same thing happens when somebody's speaking, because they heard something and they're like, oh, that's what it is. And then they in their own mind go off on a tangent.
Yes.
And if you ever speak to somebody like that, when they speak, they go off on a tangent, like, oh, squirrel. So, and I think that what winds up happening is people nowadays, because technology has truly changed the dynamic of the way we see and think and feel
Mhm.
and hear, that we've created a environment where being present is not as important. This is what scrolling is all about. It's like only what catches my eye. Only, and people are doing this with their finger. Only what catches my eye. Blah 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 blah. And then so all of a sudden, they're not paying attention. They're not enjoying the moment. And so for me, I got to tell you, every moment in my life is practically the most enjoyable,
Oh,
even when there's pain.
I'm pausing because that deserves pause. That is so profound. And I'll tell you how that kind of translates just a little bit for me. I have
Mm,
taught myself so much to be in the present moment that when I'm in someone's house and or car, especially in the car, they
mm,
voice, they want the, something going all the time. And every single time that that has happened, I will gently touch their hand or say, hey, hey. And they'll say, what? And I'll say, you got to choose. Would you rather us listen to music or would you rather us have a conversation? Because I can't do both. I have taught myself to be so present that I'm either going to have to pay attention to the music or you. Which do you choose? Did you know without fail, every single one of them turn the radio off?
mm.
Because I think what we're used to is so much activity and noise and vibration. And I learned a long time ago that the need for noise is really having a hard time being by yourself. My home is quiet, except for, this is interesting because I'm single, because I'm alone in my house, except for when I eat. I will turn on the TV when I eat because it makes me feel like I'm at the table with somebody else. It makes me feel like, well, at least there's conversation going on. I'm listening. But otherwise, my home is quiet. And people say, what, you don't listen to music? Yeah, every once in a while. I might dance to Michael Jackson, you know, I might dance to I Need You Tonight or whatever from the Backstreet Boys or whatever.
I can only imagine you moonwalking across your living room.
I actually did that on a stage. And I grabbed my crotch because I played Michael Jackson. And the guy that did this at the little theater, it was the play The Wiz, and I auditioned singing the solo, and I got it, and I was the oldest person in the cast. This was a few years ago, and the guy was leaving to go to Manhattan to the theater district to direct a play there. This is a little community theater in Easley, South Carolina. And I said, "What do you want me to do on this scene with Michael Jackson?" And he said, "Make it up." I moonwalked and I grabbed my crotch.
No wonder you got the part.
I know, we just squirreled. But getting back to what we were talking about, we fill our lives with so much. Where are you? And what is in the stillness, and what wisdom can come through when you're in the stillness? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. You talked about music or listening and all this stuff. One of the things that I was just at a birthday party, and the gentleman that we went to his house, he's turned 75, I believe. And he had the big screen TV on, and it's in the living room, and it's playing, and he hands me the remote. And I'm like, "What do you want me to do with this?" Because he had some, I really didn't care because I'm there for the company, right?
Mhm.
So he notices that I wasn't interested. He goes, "You could shut it." And somebody said, "Why don't you put some music on?" So I shut it. He put some music on. His grandson, some 20-something-year-old, comes, sits in the midst of all of us, doesn't pay attention that the music is going on, there's conversation going on, and puts on the TV. So I turn around and I say to him, I said, "Hey, did you not hear the music that's going on?" So you know what he does? He mutes it, but doesn't turn it off. And I see him flipping through the channels as he's trying to figure out what he wants to watch. So he gets to what he wants to watch. And the music's still going, conversations are still going, but he chose not to be part of it. So he wasn't in the moment. And so that's what we're talking about. It's the scattered brain that wants what it wants, and it does not live in the moment.
What are we missing though when we don't get still? I taught a class on meditation, and people try so hard to meditate, but then the thoughts come, and this happens, and this happens, and I explained to people in that class that when the mind goes neutral, you're meditating. And that is when, and I want to give an example of this so that people can actually think about when they can have that stillness. You know, transitional spaces are when information comes in between the sand and the ocean, between the riverbank and the river, between being in bed and almost asleep or waking up and not quite awake. Those are all transitional spaces. That's when a lot of information comes in. That's when we're more open. So imagine, just for the sake of the day, why don't you just think about this for a moment and decide, is yours in the morning before you're really fully awake and out of bed? Or is it when you lay down at night, right before you go to sleep? That is a transitional space that is stillness. And that is where divine inspiration and information comes in, because your mind is moving to neutrality. I think that's what we're talking about, right? Stillness, being neutral. That is a meditative state. And that is often why when people get in the shower or the bathtub or they are driving, that they kind of get into neutrality and a lot of information comes in. So what are the benefits, Sifu, of getting into stillness, into that moment?
I love the fact that you brought up meditation, because so many people don't realize that you can meditate anywhere.
Yes.
There's a technique that I teach in meditation, and I call it the sandbag. And I have everybody lay down on the floor, fully flat on their back. I slowly take them from, make sure your feet are pointing to the ceiling, to slowly having your feet just open up, your hands, palms open. And then I tell them that they're a sandbag. And with every breath, there's holes that have been poked on the side. With every breath, sand leaves you. So with every breath, the bag is getting less and less. So the weight is coming off. And then I take them through imagination of traveling, getting outside of your body, traveling to the best place you've ever been to, seeing the mountains, the rooftops, all these, seeing their own body. And so many times I have to wake people up afterwards. They went into such a deep state that they actually fell asleep. And it's very interesting. And so sometimes they're like, can I just stay here for a little bit longer? I said, absolutely. So, because they went to become so calm, that's something that people are missing in their lives. So if you ever have trouble going to sleep, try that. Do the sandbag effect, right? Obviously, I have this calming voice when I speak, almost like a whisper, and I'm guiding them through it. But you can guide yourself, and imagine that with every breath, sand leaves you, and you become lighter and lighter. And all the troubles, that's your sand. All the headaches, all the worries of the day, that's all leaving you. And it makes you just as beautiful as you were a baby when you were born. So stillness is that, letting go. Don't hold on to the nonsense, because guess what? Nonsense is always going to chase you. Always. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, you'll always have nonsense in you. It's just part of the way things are, right? And it's very interesting when people don't take the time to be with themselves. The reason I get up so early in the morning, people are like, how do you get up so early and you have energy all day long? You're like a lunatic. Because it doesn't matter when I wake up, I am up. And I was telling you earlier last night, I was asleep and my body said, hey, wake up, because I got cramps, right? As you know, and maybe some people don't know, I had cramps practically my whole life because I had polio as a kid. My legs turned backwards. And so with that, every so often I do get these incredible cramps that can last anywhere from 5 to 45 minutes. And I'm not telling you that to feel sorry for me. I'm telling you that to understand that even in the middle of that, and you asked me earlier, are you in pain? I said, no, I'm uncomfortable. And so it's a tightening of the muscles. For me, especially, it's like rock solid. And it's me rubbing them out. And hopefully it's usually on my legs. Believe it or not, once in a while it comes up on my jaw, like here, or on my hand, it'll get like tight. And it's very interesting. And so what I consider at the moment when I'm going through these things is God is telling me, hey, you're alive. I'm letting you feel that you're alive. So appreciate the moment. So in that time, I go into my head and my heart and I pray. And I thank God for even feeling. And so therefore, I see things a little bit differently than what most people would do. And by the way, my fiance says I don't have tear ducts. And I said, that's not true. I have tear ducts. So because when I'm in true pain, I laugh. It's odd. It's very odd. And so that's just me. If you ever see me like laughing uncontrollably, it's because I'm in a lot of pain. Or somebody's extremely funny. It's one of the two. So you pick one.
That is interesting. I laugh sometimes when things are uncomfortable because I want to relieve the pressure. I think that when we're used to living with so much pressure that we put on ourselves, we self-impose or we believe others impose, but it's still us. We get used to that pressure and then we get addicted to it. And then we want to create it. So for me, it's what can I do in this moment? So to me, the laughter that you have is profound. And I do that when things get really stressed around me or a driver is really acting up. All of a sudden I get tickled and I know they get mad at me sometimes, but I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Is this all that you have to be upset over? You want me to tell you some life situations where you can really get upset? Because this is nothing. It's all relative. But I think that laughter is a relief, isn't it? It's a way to get the energy off. So let me tell you a really cool story. I was contemplating some of this years ago, and I was thinking about how little children actually will scream and cry and pitch fits and, do whatever they do. They express themselves. And I was like, at what point does a human being actually stop allowing ourselves to really let it go and get that pressure off? So I love the sandbag thing. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it on my clients and I'm going to use it on myself. So thank you. But one of the things that happened was I was really studying human behavior in this way and my grands and how they would scream and cry and then they're over it. And I'm like, there's something really profound about releasing it and letting it go. And then I heard, Tammy, we want you to go walk around the lake. And so I'm starting to walk around this lake. The lake is pretty long. It's almost a mile around the lake. It's a pretty good size. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden, as I come around a curve, and there were some trees, I see the water, and all of a sudden, I see these two ducks. And these two ducks came up, and they were mallard males, and they came up out of the water, and they're lunging at each other. I've only seen this once in my entire life. And at first I thought, oh my goodness, I'm seeing these ducks play. Oh no, they were not playing. So I was like, I then became a little bit traumatized. Like, you had me come to watch ducks fight. Watch this. And then they got even more upset, and their wings are like this, and they're up above the water, and they would lunge at each other, and then they pull back a little bit, and then they would go further. And I went, one of them's going to really get hurt. I don't know that I want to watch this. Keep watching, keep watching. And all of a sudden, the first one that instigated it went back down in the water, came up, and just went like this. Didn't lunge, just doing like this, just above the water. And the second one followed suit within seconds. And then the first one just went in the water and started swimming like, I'm good. I'm done with this. And the second one did the same thing. And I said, so what's the lesson? Human beings have taught themselves not to let go of the energy. And everything in nature knows that this energy is real. This is something to experience. This is something to embrace. It's something to work through. Children are taught, Tammy, how to relieve and let go of that. And my daughter's so wise. When Milo, the little 3-year-old, gets upset, she says, let him work through it. Let him express himself. Because I'm just watching him going, wow, do I step in? No, let him work through it. And then he's over it. And I heard, you would be wise to be like the duck. Go ahead and express it. They, with their wings, they let go of the energy. So what can we do? Do you have an idea? I have one idea. to let go of the energy, the stress. What's something you would tell everybody to do?
At first, when you were telling me the story, I thought it was a spousal argument.
No, it's two mallards.
No, I know. So the reason that I am so calm is because I realize that I cannot control the other person. I can only control one, and that is me. So if you're angry at me and you come and you start yelling at me, I'm going to look at you like, are you okay? What's going on? Is there something I did wrong? And let me own it if I did, right? But then if I come back at you with the same energy you came at me, we're just wasting our time. And time is so valuable that I'd rather not let it pound on me, if you will. One of the things that I do teach youngsters is to put on a rubber suit and don't let anything penetrate. Let everything bounce off. And I say it's a black belt mentality. So I say, take a zipper all the way. And you do that before you even leave your house. So if you leave your house and somebody says something bad, it bounces. Somebody tries to, it bounces. And so therefore, you have this black belt attitude of calm. You're not letting the nonsense jump in at you. And I think that's one of the things that we're missing consistently every day, that we take everything personally. If you're mad, okay, you're mad. How can I help? But people say you're mad. Oh, you must be mad at me, or why are you mad at me? And they start assuming things, and we all know what happens when we assume. And so we don't want that. And so, for example, when I was married and my ex-wife, for some reason, would get off tangent and scream and do all this stuff, I would just look, okay, let it calm, let it be. And the more calm I was, the more irate she became. And what she wanted to fight. But her plan was not my plan. And so we have to realize that if somebody's plan is a negative one, you don't have to take action in it. You don't have to accept the invitation. Ever.
Love that. So you're talking about self-regulating and not being tossed about. I know the Bible even talks about being tossed about by the waves of things. So sometimes when I'm working with clients and they're in the thick of it, I'm like, okay, so I want you to picture this. You are out in the ocean and you're right where the waves break. Either move that way or swim this way. And then you can ride the waves. But it's not a comfortable feeling to be in that spot. This is good counsel and wisdom. Just self-regulate and realize that whatever they're doing is not yours anyway. You know, Dr. Wayne Dyer said something so profound, and I've actually used it on people because sometimes people get really mad at me because I charge for my services and I don't just give them away. It's how I make a living. So they get mad at me over. And you know what I have said to them? What Dr. Wayne Dyer says. What you think about me is none of my business, for it is not about me, it is only about you. And I just sit with that. Because if we get triggered because it's part of our curriculum. But if someone else is triggered is what you're really talking about and how they're trying to instigate, I want you to fight me. Some people, like the duck, want to get rid of the energy by flapping its wings and lunging at the other one. But you're talking about just staying in the water and watching it and going, this is kind of fun to watch you. It's kind of fun to
They're
watch.
ruffling their feathers, right? And that's okay. Let it out.
Yeah.
Bring it. It's okay. Let me have it. I'll listen to you rant and rave and be a lunatic for a minute or 2 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you need. And if that's what you need, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And so if I took it personally, I
Yeah.
couldn't be here for you, right? I take nothing personally. And people are going to go, that's not nice. That's not cool. I'm like, well, the only reason I would take it personally is if I'm the one that caused you to have this headache. Then I take it personally and I look at ways, how can I rectify what I've done wrong? And so every day I try to live better than I did yesterday. And so one of the things I always say is when somebody says, how are you doing? And you've heard me say it, I say exceptional and getting better every day. Because every day I have to live in peace with the number one person who matters the most. And it's that person that looks back at me in the mirror. If I cannot be at peace with myself, I cannot be at peace with you. If I cannot improve myself, how can I possibly help you? I can't. So every day it's about me. I am very selfish. In the morning, that's why I'm up so early, right? And we talk about stillness. I am up before people are waking up. They're probably in the seventh dream. I'm already up. I'm already at the gym. I've already worked out. I've already taken a cold shower. I've done all these things. And this is before 6 a.m. And I've done all that. Sometimes I'm up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. As soon as I get up, I meditate, I pray, I go into my what I call is my state of thankfulness, gratitude, and I share what I'm grateful for, whom I'm grateful for, and all of these things. Good morning, Leon. And all of these things matter to me because I cannot have the life I have if I'm not in gratitude. So I take the time to do that. As I'm doing that, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm getting ready, I go to the gym, I come back, I work out for an hour, I come back, I take a nice cold shower. I know some people think it's crazy. Even in New York, when it's 3 degrees out, I still take a cold shower.
I think that's great.
It is crazy, right? But it's about being uncomfortable to be comfortable for me. So that's in the middle of the chaos. What people do is like, oh my God, it's freezing. And I'm like, oh my God, this feels so amazing because I understand the value of pain. I understand the value of being alive. So when I take a cold shower, I become more alive than I was prior to it because I'm in the moment. I'm in my body. I'm in my heart. I'm in my mind. And even in the shower, I'm still going through gratitude. I'm still thanking for God, for my children, for my family, for my friends, for those people. And I'm praying for people who may be in need at the moment because we all have different times when we're in need. And so for me, it's always about the gratitude. And that's how I wake up every day. That's how I go to sleep too. I go to sleep in gratitude. So the last thoughts that I have, gratitude, and also I ask for guidance because I know when I'm going to sleep, my mind's still going to be going. So let's guide it, right? So I want guidance when I'm sleeping.
So it's interesting hearing your routine in the morning. I know we talked about this before, and I was going to ask you to share it because it's an interesting one. I'm the polar opposite. I'm really not a morning person. Nobody really knows that. And if you live with me, you would think, oh, Tammy's the same all the time. But I'm really not a morning person. So I like to ease into it. For me, even taking a shower is why do I want to get beat on? Like easing into the day. So, but the very first thing I do is I get into that stillness of, oh, okay, what time is it? And then I go, I want to know where I am. I want to know what can come through for me today. What do I need to know today? What things do you know that I can do to catapult my success or to get something done that maybe I haven't remembered to put on my list? And that's kind of a recalibration for me of tapping in and going into the moment of right now and sitting with, okay, I'm here. I have this moment. Nobody else is near me. And I can just simply, in the stillness of the most of the time dark now because it sprung ahead, this Sunday, I woke up and went, okay, it's different. And it doesn't look like 7:30 outside. I wake up between 6 and 7, and sometimes earlier. Today it was 5. In either case, the first thing I do is tap in. And I use that stillness. And I use that quiet where nothing else is going except maybe this morning was unusual. My little beady schnauzer, who is sound asleep right now, she is not a morning dog either, thank God. She was snoring just a little bit and just hearing that life and knowing what that little 18-pound dog means to me and how much she's added to my life. Gratitude, always looking for something to be thankful for, but I'm always asking for more. I always want to know what's the next thing, what's the next person I'm going to meet. And I want to tell you a story that was quite interesting. When I spoke at the United Nations and at the Nigerian embassy, I was at a table of honor, and there was His Eminence, and his last name is Rinpoche, and he's from Nepal. And he looked at me at one point after he heard me speaking about intuitive intelligence and tapping into that and leading from that perspective in front of these dignitaries. He looked me straight in the eyes and he said, I want a conversation with you. So when we sat down Monday a week ago, I said, well, the very first thing, and if you don't want to tell me, that's fine, but I want to understand you. I have no idea what His Eminence means. So can you explain to me what His Eminence means and how you got that title and what that means in Nepal? And he said, at the age of 4, I was recognized as a reincarnated deity or prophet or someone of spiritual knowledge. What was fascinating was what he described after he was recognized in that. He said, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. From that day forward, I had anything that my body or my mind or my soul needed. But then he started talking about this stillness subject of knowing yourself. And that is the single most important thing that you can discover. Well, how are you going to do that when you're too busy, when you've got too many things going on, when you're busy, when you're just doing habits, when you're just surviving, when you're just, I worked with a client last week and I said, let's talk about something that happened in the school land the other day. Like what? And her knee-jerk response was surviving. When he was talking about all these things with me, I was like, you're tapped into something, even if you had it much easier than my life, hell, rising from the dead constantly. And he even gave me a term, and he was talking about my abilities, and he explained it for me in a term that I'd never heard before. And I said, you're going to have to type it out. It's typically a female who has gone through so much death and trauma and things and risen from it, and who is here to guide people so they don't have to go through it. Wow, you just explained this for me. And peacefulness, the stillness of him knowing who he is. When you say that's one of the most important things that we can do. And by the way, for those of you who have spoken, we love it when you speak to us. Ask us questions. Tell us what you want to know. If something sparks in you say, wait, I want to know more about that. We care about you being here. So what would you say about this stillness that I'm introducing, that His Eminence Rinpoche, and now he's praying for me, and today he sent me a video I haven't even looked at yet, and he's reaching out to me, and I have a client taking me to Bali to work with her. Miracles occur when I'm traveling and at supernatural things, and people come up in service, and he said, I may come to Bali just to spend time with you. I want time with you. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. This is amazing. What would you say about the stillness of knowing yourself?
Well, think about this. No matter where you go in the world, there you are. Right?
Yes.
So if every time you look in the mirror and there's a stranger looking back, you need to ask that stranger some questions. Why are you here? What do you need? What do you want? And that's how we start to learn ourselves. And you're right, there's so many people who want the noise because they can't stand themselves. And when we think about, if we were made in God's image, then we're beautiful. We are unique. Just look at your hand. My fingerprint is different. No one else in the world has this fingerprint. And even my left hand fingerprints are different than my right hand fingerprint. Each digit has got a different print. Wow. How unique am I? How beautiful is that? And a lot of people look at the external. They look in the mirror, oh, I don't like my nose, I don't like my ears, I don't like my hair, I don't like. Stop looking externally and start looking internally. So you can have the stillness of knowing you. A lot of people, what they wind up doing is they start looking at what everybody else sees. And people don't see the inside of you. They see the outside of you. And I think that's one of the things that we forget. We have to look deep and inside of us every single time. But we forget all that. We are unique. Find out all the little things. If something triggers you, why? If you have an attitude towards a person, don't just let it go. Ask yourself, why? What is it about this person that makes me feel this way or that way? Why is it that when I walk into a room, I either feel butterflies, or I feel anxiety, or I feel anything? Why? When we can learn to do that, to ask ourselves the questions that we may not want to hear, that's stepping into your own power. But so many people are walking on the edge of not knowing who they are. Get off the edge, get on solid ground. Find yourself. Because no matter where you are, you're with yourself.
What this reminds me of, the power of stillness, is getting to the place of curiosity where you're asking the question. So when on the very rare occasion that I get triggered, because I do so much inner work all the time, my first knee-jerk response is, okay, what is this about? Why did I decide that I needed to experience this? My higher self knows more than I do. I want to know what this is. I want to overcome it. I don't need this pattern for the rest of my life. Let's go. I think the stillness of that seconds that you're talking about as what I call self-realization of. I would tell our listeners, why don't you write down 10 things about yourself? Just if you were to describe yourself, what 10 things would you write? Then go back and look at that list and say, how many of them were negative?
Mm.
How many of them are actually true? How many of them aren't true, but are a perception of yours? And then I would suggest that you do something that Brené Brown, who I absolutely love, her concept of my story is, when she talks to her husband or her mate or people that she cares about and she is triggered, she'll say, my story is that you meant this when you said that. My story is I took it this way. She owns it. She owns it. And when you look at it and say, wow, I didn't even realize how many times I look in the mirror and I say, you need to lose weight. You don't look good. You know, you don't look good in your clothes anymore. You don't have any clothes that fit anymore. And the negative chatter that we add. I've got a client right now losing her weight. She already got rid of blood cancer. First, I had to teach her to deal with the pain and sit with the pain and then neutralize it. Then she no longer had pain. Then the blood cancer started just lifting and disappearing. Now the weight. As I watch her go through this journey and we get what represents the weight, carrying people, overdoing it, codependency, not really honoring herself, not really looking at herself, not really setting lines, which I call boundaries, which really are just self-nurturing. It's not that you're setting boundaries for other people and say, don't cross this line. No, you're saying, no, this doesn't work for me. It's more self-nurturing than it is setting boundaries. I have a book that's going to come out, and that is that's a whole chapter by itself. What's the difference in codependency and self-nurturing, and setting boundaries and self-nurturing? So I think that sacred moment that you're talking about, where you go into self-reflection or curiosity, where, okay, this is not about them. I promise you, in all the work that I do, and thousands of people, not once has somebody brought a scenario to me that was about the person that they're talking about. It is always something inside of them. Like Brené says, my story is that you did this. So that's a very open-handed approach to approach somebody to get understanding. So if we move to curiosity, then our entire being elevates and starts to rise from being upset or whatever it is, or reacting to rising. Okay, I'm curious. What is this about? What is in my curriculum right now? I call it the Cobra effect. So I've always been fascinated by cobras, and I always wanted to be around a cobra. Well, I was in Marrakesh with a client. Walked into the square and there was a cobra, and I went, I want my picture in front of that cobra. And the cobra, what I found out was that the way that the snake handlers handled the cobra that was flared was that he would do his hand like this, like a snake, and tap its lips. And he acted like his hand was a snake. So it's like, I'm just going to tap your mouth and then you'll stay flared so that we can get this picture. But the cobra wasn't attacking. It was just being itself and showing its magnificence. To me, that is what the universe is doing to you all the time. There's a cobra rising and it's dancing in front of you. And either I can play with it and I can dance with it and we can synchronize and I can find out, what do you want to tell me? What do you want to show me? And when I was in Luxor, and there was a Sufi guide. And when the 40 minutes of being with my group, he walked up and whispered in my ear, he said, what are you doing here? You're not like anybody here. And I looked at him and I said, what do you know? And he said, you're very evolved and you're not like anybody here. He said, I'm going to show you things and I want to teach you some things. And one of the things that he taught me, he would constantly pull me away. If we're in a marketplace or we're at somebody's business, he would pull me away and he would introduce me, or he would take me somewhere, and then he would watch me and I would go straight to a thing. And I picked up this bracelet that it's about this wide, and it has two cobras, and it's facing what they call the umbilical cord. It's in the tree of life. It's the Ankh, A-N-K-H in Egyptian terms. And the two cobras were facing it. And I said, I do not know why, but I have always loved cobras. He said, because you are a seer. And let me tell you about cobras. They do not have eyelids, Tammy. So even when they're sleeping, Sifu cobras are watching. They're always watching. They do not have eyelids, so they're always seeing. They are seers. You are a seer. That's why you like the cobras. We can all become the cobra, and we can see. And that is powerful. And that's a stillness, a recognition, a knowing. It's big, isn't it?
It sure is. It's about taking things in, like the cobra, absorbing what's around you. And so many of us are ready to answer. That's why when you were talking earlier about people not paying full attention, is because they're in their own head. And they need to absorb what's happening around them. And so when you're in your own head, you're closed up and you don't allow things to be. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people miss. And so it's the details in life that matter. It's the tiniest little thing. It's the bug on the wall that we miss. It's the word that somebody said that we interpret incorrectly. It's truly being present. If you think about an accident, and the reason people have more accidents is because they're rubbernecking, because they're not in the moment of driving. They're in the moment of somebody else. And so they're paying attention to something else, but they're not in the moment. And it's okay to pay attention to something, right? But if it's going to affect you in a negative way, like rubbernecking, that's why I've seen so many people that on the other side of the highway is a big accident. And then there's a bunch of accidents on the other side as well, because people are trying to see what happened instead of seeing what's in front of them. And so they'll hit the car in front of them. And all of a sudden, there's a bunch of accidents because people are trying to see the other thing. So now it becomes a really terrible thing. So it's about paying attention to what matters also. Yeah, we need to pay attention to the details, but if you paid attention to every little detail, you may drive yourself nuts. You may have an accident. And I think that we have to be selective when we pay attention. Stillness is a choice. Chaos is a choice. Which one do we want to be involved in?
You know, it's funny because when I was talking, when you were coming back in, I was talking about to you before about as I age, I want ease. I'm narrowing down so many things. I don't like the high maintenance. I don't do the eyelashes anymore because I had to go every 2 weeks. And I'm like, what good is this for me to just lay on this bed for an hour to an hour and a half every 2 weeks? I don't like this. It felt confining to me. So I wonder what things are in our lives right now. They're taking space that you deserve, that you could use to be inspired, to read something, to watch something on YouTube that teaches you or inspires you or helps you to grow, not just entertainment, but something that moves you. What can we find to move us today, to move that needle in the smallest of places, because you're worthy. You deserve it. You need you. I don't use need much, but in this case, you actually need you. We need you.
We do.
We don't want to be on the playground by ourselves.
It's more fun when we play together, isn't it?
I want people to play with,
Mm.
who can just sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya and love each other and laugh and go, can I share with you what I learned today? Yeah.
It's the old saying, sharing is caring, right? But it's got to be good caring, good sharing. Because a lot of people want to share the negativity. Usually, the reason I say what I say when people say to me, how are you doing? Is because in the past, and I'm sure everybody listening, whether you listen now or listen on the replay, you've probably listened to somebody when you say, how are you doing? And they say, oh my God, you're not going to believe what happened, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, why did I even ask how they're doing? Because all of a sudden they're telling me all their problems. And I'm not a therapist. I just want to know if they had a good day so far. And obviously they haven't. So we should be so powerful in our own self that we don't have to tell everybody our problems, but we can share important things that maybe highlights them as a human being. And when I say I'm exceptional and getting better every day, it lets them say, wow, that's unique. I've never heard that before. And I said, well, it's yours now. So use it. And they're like, oh, thank you. Or they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I said, well, the only reason I can say that is because I don't want to be the same person I was yesterday. Every day I need to grow. I need to get better. And I need to get better than I was yesterday. And they're like, 1%. Yeah, 1%. I said, sometimes it's not even 1%. Sometimes it's a tenth or 100th of a percent. And that's better than no percent.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So everybody thinks, oh, I got to get better 100% or 1%. Yeah, that's three. You're going to get better 365 in a year at 365%. But what if you only get better by 100% or 30%? It's better than not getting better. And the only way we can get better is like Paul Masson said back in the commercials in the old day. He sells no wine before it's time, right? So it talks about it's got to age correctly. Right?
Yes.
And you talked about keeping things simple. We do complicate our lives with so many diversions. Did you ever think a baby ever said, oh, what am I wearing? Oh, no. How do I look? Oh, no. Never. So when we can get back to being almost like a baby and just smiling more. And yeah, if we cry, it's because we're hungry. If we cry, it's because we soiled ourselves. And for the most part, most babies, if you look at a baby, they're happy. I had 2 clients yesterday and they brought their baby. Oh my God, such a beautiful child. And it's 7 months old. And I went and I was like, I became a baby. I was like, oh, and I started tickling it. And the baby was just smiling and looking at me and even wanted to reach out and touch my hand. And that was such a beautiful moment that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have felt good because I connected with that child. 7 months old, oh my God, so precious. And that baby, it was dressed nice. It had a little bow, it was a little girl. But that baby wouldn't have asked for a bow. It wouldn't have asked for those clothes. And so when we look at ourselves, let's go back to the simplicity of us being babies. What is it that we really need? A baby only learns from its environment. If you get a baby who is calm, it's because they live in a calm household, especially when they get older, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you get a child in a home where there's cursing all the time, that people are biting, that's what the child knows. It learned. And so it's important to realize that the household you create, especially when you're bringing children into it, is their environment. And so if there's stillness in your household, your child will learn stillness. If you teach them how to meditate, how to just even listen to music and just absorb what's happening, it's a gift that you can never take away from them. But you first have to give it.
I think in closing for me, I would say stillness is your power. And it is the grounding that causes you to create even more.
Mm-hmm.
But it requires you going in and being still and asking questions and figuring out. I went through a hard time last year, and every day for 3 weeks I woke up and I said, what do I need to know? And I was given details about what this person was doing to me, trying to tear down my website, hacking into my email, trying to destroy my life. Every single one of them, with me asking every day, what do I need to know? Every single one of them were reversed.
Mm.
The person wasn't successful. And if I hadn't have asked every day, what do I need to know today? I wouldn't have known.
Mm.
Stillness is where you're pulling in and you're looking and you're saying, what can I do today that's going to make the biggest difference in my life, therefore touch everyone else?
Mm.
Not the opposite way. It's not, how can I be of service? You're of service by breathing. So what is the stillness? What parting words would you share today?
Be with yourself without the noise. Shut off the TV. Some people go to sleep with the TV on. They can't be with themselves.
Right.
Shut the darn thing off. Stop looking at your phone before you go to sleep. Don't even look at it. And people are like, oh, my camera went off. See what happens? That's stillness right there. That right there, that was stillness. And when I said shut off, my camera said, okay, I'm listening. So think about that. Be with yourself in quiet and ask the questions. Who am I really? And wait for the responses. Don't judge whatever comes back. And then learn the beauty of you. But you can only do that in stillness.
That's good stuff.
I am so blessed to know you, Tammy, and to have this incredible time with you. Thank you so much.
I feel the same.
I
I
love it.
always know when I have to get up very early in the morning for this. This is your normal. It's not my normal. I always look forward to it. I always know that it's going to be a very meaningful, deep, wonderful conversations. And I can't tell you how many people write me or text me later and go, you have no idea. I needed that. You have no idea how much this meant. So kudos and thank you for being present and being with me and going through everything you have to get here to share this wisdom.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Let's go, right?
I want to share with everybody in the audience that whatever messages you heard today, someone else that you know may need to hear them too. So do us a favor, help somebody. Because what you take in for granted or what you already know, they may not. And sometimes it takes a different person to give them the message they need to hear. So let us be the messengers. So go ahead and share this.
Thank you so much for being here.
Take care, everybody.